Okay, so here we have rain predicted. You can see the typical lininess to these clouds. And if you look back behind here, you'll see the lines of clouds as well. We're looking south toward Fortuna. And then if you look over here, you'll see some lines of clouds as well. And then as we look north, we see somewhat of a liney looking cloud bank, and then further north we see the typical lines of clouds, layers of lines of clouds. So that's your geoengineering report for today. Join us on Facebook, NorCal Geo-Engineering Watch.
Who's actually Dane is actually in Northern California in Lake Shasta, and has been one of the primary lights dealing with the idea of off-the-grid solar and wind energy power, clean, non-environmental impact kind of technology, and monitoring the tremendous amounts of heavy metals, particular nanoparticle aluminum, showing up in the waters, literally in the rain. This is not from groundwater contamination. This is not from industrial waste. This is geoengineering the planet where these materials are falling. And in fact, I was told this firsthand that when you put them at high altitudes, at 73 to 80,000 feet, they spread out in a laminar pattern around the planet. And it takes 2.5 to 4 years for these particles to fall to Earth. And there's also mixed in with barium, which is 10,000 times more toxic than lead, and thorium, and roughly 20 to 1 in 50 atoms of thorium is radioactive. So, we've got some very nasty things going on here. People need to grasp that these are not things that are going to take decades and centuries. If we don't stop this, as Dr. Mike Castle will be also on with Dane Wigington, the death of the entomomycorrhizae lichens and fungi that support the root structures of trees, plants, and the ecosystems is dying. It's dying primarily due to poisoning from things like aluminum toxicity caused by geoengineering the planet based on false science and lies. So Dane, tell us the story of how you got involved with this, and how serious is the issue, and how quickly is it literally destroying the ecosystems up in Northern California?
Thanks, Dr. Deagle. For us, it's a matter of life or death. The changes we've seen in the last 4 years can scarcely be believed. I have a background in solar power. I worked for Bechtel Power on some of the first solar plants in the continental U.S. When I began to lose 50-60% of my solar uptake from solar obscuration, it was whatever was being emitted from these aircraft, I began to investigate the issue. We took our first rain test 4 years ago at 7 UGL, 7 parts per billion of aluminum, which geohydrologists said at that time was quite high. Since that time, we have had tests escalate as much as 50,000% from that mark, up to 3,450 parts per billion, which is literally toxic rain. And the fallout has certainly begun to appear here, and now seems to be reaching critical proportion. We have fir tree die-off. We have lost about 80% of the amphibians in our area in the last 4 years alone. We've had salmon spawning crashes from 160,000 in the local tributary here to 8,000 in 4 years, a virtual crash. And now there's forestry biologists working on soils pH testing, and the soils pHs, there's been so much metal fall on us here, and we have dozens of tests at the state's lab. Soil pHs have literally changed from highly acidic in the forest floor, which they should be, 5.5 pH more or less, up to 7.0 flat neutral. And this is being documented by 30-year biologists with degrees as long as your arm. So our fallout here has been absolutely horrific. These particulates, we've been to CARB, California Air Quality Resources Board. These particulates are not migrating from China, as everyone wants to assume. They were not amongst the particulates found. And again, EPA, water quality, air quality, virtually nobody gives a damn about anything that falls in the rain. And the system is literally designed not to respond to decisions.
This is another picture showing the jet trail just before the burst. This is our skies, and I want you to know that what you're seeing now, a lot of times many scientists know, especially at NASA and in other areas, that the skies that we're seeing are not normal cloud formations. These are man-made. And what happens as we reduce the amount of sunlight in a form of global dimming, we reduce the solar power with these type of clouds, and we reduce photosynthesis, which is going to impact agriculture.
Some figures. Okay, latest water test. Tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0, then it was 100s in the 2000s, and then since